Good. All right. So good morning. And with me is Mr. Aldo Cansino. He's the Environmental Officer of the Project Execution Unit with the Department of the Environment in the Ministry of Sustainable Development in beautiful Belize. Good morning, Mr. Cansino. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning. I'm fine so far. Feeling a bit festive, getting into the festive mood of Christmas. And
Yes, and
you?
I love your backdrop. Yeah, me similar, same as well. I appreciate the time you're taking after the festive season. I know we're all working still to do this interview. And of course, your background really helps us to understand how busy things are, as well as how, of course, it marks the festive season as well. So we're here this morning to discuss a bit the digital learning hub that was recently launched by BCRC Caribbean. Before we get into the actual questions, could you share a little bit about your and your organization's role in facilitating the obligations under the various conventions um, that fall under the BCRC Caribbean?
Sure. The Department of Environment in Belize is a very important organization. When people think about the environment, people think about green, blue. They rarely think about the gray. Um, And so the Department of Environment has several important functions. We try to foster an appreciation for the environmental environment. We try to ensure that people become stewards for sustainable development. And one of the ways that we do it and or how we interact with the work of the BCRC is that we are responsible for some of the gray areas. So, for example, there's the forest department who deals with green, the protected areas, forest management. There's fisheries department that also and that looks at the marine protected areas and marine biodiversity. And there's public health that deals with a bit of pollution control. And so, when they were carving out the Department of Environment, we quickly realized that one of the areas that is not thought about is pollution control. And so the Department of Environment serves that role. The legislation, while it fosters and promotes sustainable development, it also recognizes that there's a need to have structures in place to control pollution. And so the Department of Environment actually serves as the focal point for the Stockholm, Rotterdam, and Basel Convention. For Rotterdam, we are in charge of the industrial components, the industrial chemicals in that, and we also um, are a party now to Minamata, and the department will also serve as the focal point for that. And we're also the focal point for the ozone layer, the Vienna Convention, and those provisions. We currently are also the focal point, and we're leading the discussion with the intergovernmental negotiating committee with plastics. And so we serve that role, and that is our connection with the BCRC. And this is how we function in tandem with these international commitments. And we are fortunate to be part of the BCRC Caribbean because that assists us in meeting or reporting goals. It also BCRC plays an integral role with training and building network, not only internally but externally.
Very encouraging to hear, and I'm quite um, taken with the way you conveyed and articulated that gray space, so to speak, because you're absolutely correct. Sustainable development, sustainability, and the associated jargon, blue economy, green economy, and so forth. There is literally a gray area, and figuratively as well, that tends to be out of sight, out of mind to the average person. So clearly, your department and your ministry plays an important role in not just meeting the, facilitating the country's obligations under the various treaties and conventions, but also, dissemination of knowledge to the general public and all the levels of stakeholders that you have throughout the country. So really important work, and thank you for that. So in relation to the recently launched BCRC Caribbean Digital Learning Hub, there's a few questions we wanted to ask around that. Let me start with, what do you see as the main opportunities for stakeholders in your country to benefit from the Digital Learning Hub?
Well, the way that we're looking at it is that the Digital Learning Hub is providing a tool that is up to time. So Jeff Islands has been very instrumental, is building on the previous project, and there's a lot of material, a lot of information being generated. And normally people won't read, you know, um, all of these reports, assessments, etc. So the Digital Learning Hub really does create an opportunity. It creates an opportunity to utilize the resources that we now have. We have the internet, we have social media, we have people now are looking at um, getting information from accredited sources, or for probably not necessarily accredited, but sources that are relevant. And so this becomes a tool for us. Last week we met with we had an NWG meeting, and we were re-emphasizing to our NWG members that this is available, and that we want them to share it in their networks, and that we want them to sensitize their stakeholders on it. Interestingly, the University of Belize sits in our NWG and has been active in chemicals management discussions for quite some time. And so we want the students to also have access to it. We want them to be aware. And so it provides this opportunity. It's an opportunity for us to share what the works of Jeff Islands is doing, the important work. It sensitizes on these chemical conventions that are not necessarily sexy, like climate change and the biodiversity. It's not a sexy tool, it's not a sexy team, but the the Digital Learning Hub does present that opportunity, that it starts we can start dressing it up and creating that appeal. And just by sharing, you can get more information on a very important matter, and things that you don't necessarily associate with Belize or the Caribbean chemicals, you know?
Right. Yes. And I mean, these are things that affect all of us globally, but of course, our concern in our region, given the vulnerabilities we have, and something you said a little earlier in relation to the environment, that there's still this attitude or belief that the environment is separate to the economy and separate to society, when it's all intertwined, it's interconnected, it's interrelated and interdependent. So the environment is just part of the whole system, and what we do or don't do, in our daily lives and in our work lives has that impact, whether it's at the personal level or at the corporate level as well. But I'm really happy to hear about the university, because of course that next generation, particularly at the tertiary level, they are coming into the workforce. They need to understand and have access to this information. And of course, the Digital Learning Hub does it in a way, as you correctly said, that is relevant, and that they can use it. It's a more user-friendly tool, from what I've been understanding.
And it's accessible.
Yes,
Everybody
very
has
true.
internet on their phone, and
Yes,
that's really the one of the key factors that we can't miss. That it's accessible.
yes,
To
yes.
log in, it's like creating an account for on Instagram or any other platform. It takes you 1 minute. Your email, your name, your country. You apply. You have access to it, and then
Literally at your fingertips.
yep,
So,
at your
so,
fingertips.
so, Mr. Cansino, given these obvious benefits of the DLH compared to conventional ways of learning about these fairly heavy topics. What challenges might your stakeholders in Belize face when engaging with the DLH?
Well, the one of the challenges is, and we spoke about it earlier, that we are doing a million and one things. We're engaged in so many other commitments, and really getting that information out, getting people to know that this is available is the challenge, and that's why we're sharing through different platforms, because that is the challenge. Building the sensation that this is available, and making it attractive, because really and truly that's what you want to do. If you want someone to engage, you need to attract them, because there's
Yeah,
so many other competing interests out there, and there's so many other competing things that will capture attention. We live now we live in the era now that everything is scroll. You have a minute or 30 seconds to really do something, and so you have to capture attention, or you have to develop that n- awareness, but it has to be catchy. It has to be so that
spot
is a
on,
challenge. That is a
certainly.
challenge.
And I know the DLH was designed with that in mind, but you're right. The reality is that the um, relative and respective levels of work priorities um, do make it, and of course, on top of resource constraints, whether it's time, people, and so on and so forth, it does make it challenging. But I'm hoping that again, with the support of your good self, your team, and of course the national working group as a whole, that the momentum continues to build with with people going on, registering and completing the modules.
Yeah.
Good. So on that note, then, which you spoke a little bit about the era that we're in. Which communication channels or networks do you believe are most effective in reaching stakeholders and raising awareness about the digital learning hub?
Um, Al.
Mm,
If you have to summarize it, I would say Al. But listen, the approach that we're taking is we're sharing it to our networks, and let those networks share with within their networks. And so um, we've we, we tried. I'm a bit older, so I still rely on email. WhatsApp is a nice tool. WhatsApp now has channels that can be utilized
right,
to get people to follow. Um, we also have the Facebook and the Instagram and whatever else is available, and so we gotta take advantage of those things, and like and so, but the approach that we're taking is sharing it with our networks, and then let them share in their platforms as well. So it's
right.
you kind of expand that scope.
Yeah,
One of the persons that is engaged with us. What she was engaged with us in one of the assessments, and she said, "Hey, I knew that Jeff Islands was doing this work, but I'm just getting to understand the scope of it.
right.
You know what would be nice if you digitize this and have like a
Mhm.
like a website or something, and we're telling them that's coming. And
Right.
so when we launched, we shared it with her and her team, and
Okay.
so
Okay.
so hope. I mean, we will share as much as possible, and we're hoping that people will actually take the time to sign up and go through the courses, because that is something that we want to encourage. The digital learning hub has the advantage that it is created in the region. It takes into
Yeah.
consideration our challenges. It looks
Yes.
at it speaks, when you hear Jewel in the introduction, you feel it is something that you can relate to, because
Yes.
a lot of the times we have these tools that are available and they're not necessarily they don't consider our local or regional context. um, and so that's the benefit. Those are some of the things that we're trying to sell. That look, Donovan, it wasn't created by an external factor or external agencies. I mean, this was homegrown. These were created
Yes.
in the region with people from the region for the region, considering our challenges, considering our realities, because our realities are different than other areas. We're small.
Very much so. Very much so. Yes.
We're well vulnerable, but we're creative, we're adaptive, and we're resilient. And those
Absolutely.
things
Yeah.
that those are qualities that we want to exemplify. And I believe the digital learning hub has done that. It
Excellent.
it has shown that people in the Caribbean are quite capable of doing this and quite capable of transforming um, information that's difficult
Mhm.
to break down into modules and information that's really accessible, and remove all the jargon, remove all the fluff, straight to the point, like how we like it. You know,
Yes.
we want to get to the other end quick, and it provides that, which is again something that we are in our discussions are highlighting, that this
Right.
is built for purpose. This is built by us.
But I mean, it's evident that, yourself and your team across the National Working Group, recognize the benefits and have been putting in some effort to encourage others within the network and the related and wider networks to take a look at the DLH, hopefully to register and consume the information, because as you correctly said, it's a repository of information, and being a hub, it could only expand as more is added to it. So what further do you believe we can do to build that momentum, to get, with such challenging um, challenges to people's time and availability and even sometimes interest? Is there anything additional that we could do to build on that momentum to get further engagement with the digital learning hub?
Um, what we shouldn't do is let it get in the back burner.
Mm, right.
You know, we gotta keep it at the forefront. We gotta keep it in the conversation. We gotta keep it active. We have to be the ones to make sure that um this stays relevant. Um, because we're in the digital era, which is what we wanted to take advantage of. But like I said, the digital era also comes with, we have the next thing, the next thing, the next
Yeah.
thing. And so we got to make sure that we're always there. You know, we always promote it, that
Yeah.
it's not a deliverable.
Right. Yes. I think you've put that really, really well, because there's that risk of, you know, losing that momentum if we don't keep the visibility high, keep the encouragement going, celebrating the wins when we get them. Because you're right, this is not something that is just a start and a stop. This is something ongoing.
Yeah.
So
We
no,
should
excellent.
celebrate we should celebrate the 10th, right? The 10th user, the 100th
Yes,
user, the 1,000th user, the 100,000 user, you know. So we
agreed, agreed.
we
That makes a
gotta
lot
make
of
we
sense.
gotta make the milestones. We make it.
Mhm. So beyond the primary stakeholder group, and you spoke to this a little bit earlier as well with your meetings with the national working group, so I'm sure that other member countries could learn. So what strategies could expand awareness of the digital learning hub amongst other institutions or professionals in Belize?
Um, so one of the things that we're trying to do is, or we we recognize that we're probably not doing well, is engaging industry. Industry, like I said, one of our participants in one of the other sessions said, hey, we have an interest in this. We shared this with them, and we recognize that probably we need to be a little bit more targeted with the persons that sometimes we leave behind. And unfortunately, we we have we engage industry, but probably we're not engaging them fully. And so we do need to strengthen that engagement with them. um, and possibly we have certain meetings that we would do with with key industry stakeholders, and possibly one of the things that we haven't really delved into and is how do we introduce this at these sessions. It's different. So with several of the industries we have, um, depending on the type of industry, at one point we had quarterly meetings, or meetings every 6 months, or every year, once a year, just to kind of get updates and to provide to keep the industry engaged. And probably we can use these platforms, these normal platforms that we use, to engage them on the activities that we're doing, and we get informed on the advances that they're doing, to also introduce the digital learning hub in a more formal setting. Because this is now going into formal meetings, and trying to
Right.
at least project the QR code for the digital learning hub, wherein they can log in or scan and find out more, and leave those with the environmental officers and the environmental contacts, the focal points for those companies, and us. And we gotta use every available opportunity to let people know of the hub.
And that's a very powerful point, because as you said it, I envisage those key stakeholders in industry within the organization, that if they were to um, go on to the DLH and learn through the learn the fundamentals about the conventions, and of course the work that your ministry, your department, your unit is involved in and responsible for, you then there's almost a bit of a stronger alignment, an understanding, and appreciation of what needs to be done and their role as one of the key stakeholders, because it requires that all of society approach. And of course, industry is one of those primary stakeholders that tend to may not real understand the bigger picture. Then they look at
Mhm.
it from their lens within the borders of their businesses, but
Mhm.
at the national level, of which they are part of, it would be good to get that understanding through the more user-friendly methodology that the DLH affords. So that's an excellent point. Thank you for that. So finally, what is one feature of the Digital Learning Hub that you find most valuable or appealing?
Well, like I said, so when I signed up, the one feature that I actually liked was that opening by Jewel, the
Right.
former director. That, to me, it her introduction to it, really, I wasn't expecting it, and that kind of wanted me to delve into it more, to
Okay. Okay.
learn a little bit more. So that's and there's some short brief videos along the way, which really I think could be utilized a bit more. Just because, again, we people don't like to read, people want the things to be quick, and we're in the era of reels and 30 seconds a minute, and so we really getting to at least have that for the introduction, not by a AI, not by a cartoon. You have an introduction by someone who's introducing, and when I heard her, it really hit me, and that's really something that I didn't expect, and kind of wanted me to delve a little bit further as well.
I appreciate that response because it resonates to the point that the people behind all of this, many or most are committed, experienced, and knowledgeable, and of course have been as a team and as a network throughout the region, trying to ensure that we meet or even exceed, as we have in some instances, the obligations that we have as individual countries, but collectively as a region as well. So that speaks a lot to that commitment, because sometimes you look at the work that has to be done, you look at the statistics, you look at the results, whether they're good or not so good, but the people behind it and the commitment and the years of dedication. I mean, that is what I heard when you mentioned, your reaction to seeing the former um, director of the BCRC Caribbean, Jewel, have the opening, the introduction video. So that
Yeah,
that 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 resonates quite a lot. Thanks for that.
yeah, because it shows that people are working. It shows that people have taken time. This Jeff Islands, it's not a project; it's a program. Its scale is large. Its impact is larger,
Mhm.
and its results really are being condensed and being brought into something that really can have an even bigger impact. Um, so, but again, like you've mentioned, there's people behind it. There's a whole team, and those teams have teams. I mean, Sachin, Louis, Anand, Daniel, the whole team. There's a team of people behind this, that really are making sure that the project continues and the programs continue and the activities continue, and it's not just a deliverable. It really keeps the information there, because that really can um w- that really can be something that, if it's a deliverable, it can be shelved, it can be put up, you might forget about it, but really keeping it alive and keeping the information relevant, because the information there will always be relevant, um, and it provides a timestamp of where we are on the Jeff Islands, and it provides the information needed so that we can set new targets in the future, because we can always build on the digital learning hub and keep being relevant.
That I fully agree with that. It does signify a culmination of the work done over many, many years, but it also at the same time is setting the stage for the future work. And as more and more people come into the space, this is a resource, a tool that makes it, even somewhat easier to gain the knowledge, gain the understanding, that is necessary to, of course, do the good work that is being done by you and your team, the BCRC and their team, and of course, collectively throughout the Caribbean.
Mm,
Mr. Cansino, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure spending some time with you this morning.
sure,
Um,
thank you.
it's very also encouraging to hear the experience that you and the team has had with the DLH to date, and of course we look forward to seeing more and more activity and participation at the level of Belize, nationally.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. And we're trying to make sure that this continues. Um, and that's all we can do. Give it give it our best and hope that people will recognize that this is important and that they will take time to sign up and they will not only start the course but follow up with the course and finish it. So
Absolutely. That's the important thing, as part of the stepping stones towards progress.
yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Cansino, and of course, all the best to you and your wider team at the department and ministry, and of course to your national working group. Take care.
Thank you and season greetings.
Same to you.
Okay.